Welcome to Attunement with Courtney O'Keefe. I am your host, Courtney. Today, for our throat business background, we have Ashley Logan on. Ashley is a coach, entrepreneur, and a mother of three who helps people show up unapologetically in all areas of life. As the founder of Yakkety Yak, a purpose-driven marketing agency, and host of the Unapologetically Yours podcast, Ashley blends real-world leadership with a grounded, embodied approach to personal growth. Ashley works with women through coaching, retreats, and workshops to move beyond burnout and live with more authenticity, purpose, and joy. Her approach blends practical tools with a grounded authority, helping clients reconnect with the most aligned versions of themselves. Ashley is a natural leadership coach, Gateless Writing Teacher, Reiki energy worker, sound practitioner, breathwork facilitator, journey guide, and Miracle Way Facilitator. Ashley, thank you so much for being on Attunement with us. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me, Courtney. I'm so grateful to be here. I love your authentic voice, love following along with all of the things that you're doing in the world, from motherhood to sound healing, and then more recently launching this podcast. It's been so fun
Yes.
to follow along.
Thank you so much. As with you, and I met you through my friend Jill, who has also been on this podcast. She had told me about you over a year ago, and I had recently met you at one of your sound healing events. And that was just so magical. And after learning a little bit more about you, I knew I had to have you on for the throat because you are also helping people find their authentic voice. So I cannot wait to get into it.
Yay, let's get started.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about yourself, like your personal life, and then we can dive into your career journey.
Oh my gosh. Well, in my everything, as you're reading like my bio, I'm like, oh my God, this chick is manic. But
No.
I am a manifesting generator. For those who follow human design, I am absolutely textbook. I'm a textbook Sagittarius,
Mm-hmm.
I, Capricorn rising. So love work and getting things done, and a Virgo moon. So have that like soft,
Mm.
tender, loving side and a deep, deep inner critic. And for me, I'm a mother of three. I have been a founder and entrepreneur for almost 20 years. And because I don't like to be put in a box, I don't love being told what to do. I like laugh because I'm like, God, am I like virtually unemployable at this point in time in terms of taking direction from other people? But it's been such, my life has been dedicated to, allowing myself to take one step and then letting that build on the next and seeing where the road takes me and then realigning from there. So I've been on a long journey of, trying to figure out what my place is in the world. And, that's ongoing for you, me, and for all of us.
Yes. I did not know your big three. We actually have a lot in common. I have Sag and Capricorn energy, so it's like very similar in that way. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. So yeah, you're a very goal-driven person as well, with the Virgo in there too. Could you tell us a little bit about your career journey, like starting from the beginning and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a dream when I've always been a creative person. Writing has been my tool, my modality since I was a little kid. And so I went to college for creative writing at University of Tennessee, and it was just like I studied under some of the most incredible professors. And then I wanted to go move to New York and have a column like Carrie Bradshaw, and like the real
Mm.
world smacked me in the mother effing face. And so I, one of the big realities of life is paying taxes. So I took a job in the candy business
No
where
way.
yeah, it was wild. I was a sales and marketing, regional sales and marketing manager. I had half the country at 22, traveling around
Wow.
to major retailers, slanging candy. And I knew that that's not where I wanted to be. But what's interesting to me is that I learned sales in that position and realized how limited most women are when it comes to like what their career options are, and that sales is such a great way to lean into your intuition, connect with other people, and help solve their problems. And so I moved into commercial real estate from there, and again was like this very creative person, in a corporate cutthroat environment, working with
Mm.
C-level executives on 100% commission. And that's really where my entrepreneurial journey began, because I had to like eat what I killed and solve problems. But I was really missing that creative outlet. This actually served as the foundation of Yakkety Yak. I have a big heart and want to take care of everyone. And philanthropy has always been a big part of my fabric. And so I started volunteering for a nonprofit organization called the Silver Lining Foundation, based in Chicago, that provides free mammograms for uninsured and underinsured women. And ultimately built their audience engagement program to help them connect with people over social media, which was just starting to be a mechanism beyond social connection and for businesses. And that creative outlet actually served as the foundation of starting Yakkety Yak, my creative content marketing agency that I founded in 2012. So from there, once I saved up enough money, I enrolled at the Medill School of Journalism in their master's program, which is all about writing for a target audience. Simultaneously started this business, purpose driven content marketing that helps connect people and brands with the people who want to be found by them. And I have been doing that since. So I built the company from scratch. At our biggest, we had 35 employees and
Wow.
made it through the global pandemic.
Yeah.
Also had 3 children in rapid fire, a girl and then 2 boys. And from there, I that's the Yak Yak story. But all of that culmination of things led me to absolute severe burnout.
I cannot even imagine. As you're describing that, it just felt like you were not like creating a spider web almost. It's like the visual that I felt. You were doing so many different things and having a family on top of that. Wild.
It was so
Wild.
wild. And I love that you said the spider web, because like when I learned about human design, I was like, oh my God, I make sense to myself now. Because
Yeah.
with human design, and especially manifesting generators, we like each little piece, and for anyone listening, I think about this with people who are, temporarily working at a coffee shop or in a temporary job. Don't discount that, because it is that foundation. What you learn there all becomes a fabric of who you are and
Yeah.
helps prepare you for whatever the next step might be. And that was like absolutely my experience. While I was very far away from Carrie Bradshaw, New York, when I'm selling candy, each step of the way led me to build the business that I
Yeah, like building blocks, you learn something from everywhere you go, and it's always fun to like go back and reflect on those things.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So tell us a little bit then how you broke into like this spiritual space, because a lot of what you do has like spiritual undertones to it now. So I'd love to hear about that journey, how that snowballed.
Absolutely. There was a few things that were happening simultaneously. One, I've always had a deep connection to nature, God, the universe, and but leaned into my intuition, but I didn't have words always for the gifts that I had. And so it was probably like 2021 or so, when my youngest was a year. He was a pandemic baby, and I had just been through absolute hell and back, and no time for myself, no time for creative outputs. I wasn't taking care of my body. I wasn't able to shed any of the baby weight that I'd been holding on to from having 3 kids and being so stressed out. And I just looked at myself, and I had started to feel what I can only describe as like my Jumanji drum. And it was just this knowing inside of me that was getting louder and louder, that there was something more, that I needed to look inward. And the thing that had happened along the way, sort of unconsciously, is that I had made all of these choices based on should. So I got married, I had the children, I built the business in this very patriarchal format. Even though I was a woman running the business, it still operated by the same tenets of working hard and this cycle and that and more. And then introducing motherhood to the equation and feeling like I was getting so much thrown at me about how I should be doing it. Breastfeeding, not breast. My nervous system was just like on fucking fire. And I was following this path of should while everything around me was unraveling. And ultimately, I hit a point where I was like, actually, this is like so relevant to the throat chakra. My grandmother at one point asked me what songs I sang to my children. And
Wow.
I started to cry because I had been a singer and a musician for my whole life. Such a deep connection to music and sound and making up songs and letting them come through me. And I realized that I wasn't even singing to my children.
Wow.
And I had just become so disconnected from the core of who I was. And then I sat with things. I listened to podcasts. I started to find words and names for the things that I was feeling and the gifts that I had and the disconnect, and started just gradually finding my way home. And what changed everything for me was I had like built this foundation, was doing things kind of by myself. It was still that post-pandemic era where it's like, are you vaccinated? Where are you going? Where could you be? Like, and I felt so alone. And then I saw my friend, who you know as well, Meg Sylvester, was
Oh, yes.
hosting the Lotus Sisterhood retreat in Tulum. And it made no sense, but I signed up and
Mm.
I showed up, like no yoga experience. I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know what any of these things are, but I'm here. And I wanted a private space. So I had this tent on the beach in Tulum, and it was fucking hot. I brought too much stuff, and I just released
Mm.
and let myself grieve the parts of me that had been untended to, let myself grieve all of the loss that I had experienced from a couple of miscarriages and through the pandemic, and missing my kids and missing me and art. And that retreat sort of changed everything. I'll pause because I'm being super long-winded,
No,
but that's
that's
really
beautiful. My gosh, that's beautiful. I didn't know that I knew you knew Meg, but I didn't know how that connection was there. And that's crazy.
It's crazy. And it's funny because Meg and I met in college at University of
Okay.
Tennessee, and we knew each other there. And I just like followed along in her journey of expansion and growth, and we'd stayed in touch and was always inspired by her. And then when the retreat came, that's where I was exposed to practices like gateless writing. And I mentioned that I had been a writer my whole life: poetry, prose, songs, so much self expression. And that all of that energy had been diverted towards my clients and a very transactional type of expression that wasn't necessarily about me. And through Gateless, I remember just like the words just started pouring out of me again. And then that's where I experienced my first sound bath and breath work. And coming back from that experience, I said, like, I know I'm not the only bitch who's burned out in the world. I want to learn these things and bring them to my community and become a conduit for other people who are experiencing that same identity loss, from following rules that weren't made for us.
Yes. So then did you just come home and start like taking certifications and like learning all these different things? Because I know that's a process. I've done the like sound healing certification, and I know you have a large roster of these spiritual tools that you offer to others. So how was that process?
Oh my God. It's just so funny. Like ordering, like, okay, sound bowls started coming in the mail. And I
Yeah,
actually didn't ever do a formal certification for sound
I
healing.
love that.
I just like leaned into my music background and just, started, I guess, fucking around.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
there children listening?
No.
But then just started kind of like intuitively following the callings for these, like, as I would notice like different opportunities come up, like Reiki, Reiki programs. And I was always concerned about like budget and time and all those things. And as I found stuff that felt aligned, I would sign up. And one of the most expansive trainings that I did that's like probably my favorite modality is in breath work. And I found a woman in Seattle who does transformational breath work, and she was creating her own program. And so I flew out to Seattle and did a training there. Met tons of people. Like the amount of people that I have met from just like saying yes to what felt like a body yes for me has been just incredible. Um, and then I was trying to figure out like, okay, well, how do all these pieces fit with like my identity
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, my identity as a mother? And ultimately, I just finished a training program in natural leadership, equine therapy that sort of ties everything together to officially move me into a coaching space where I can offer all of these different facets and my business experience to help add value in a more structured, official. So I have two businesses
Yeah.
and and another identity crisis,
I love it
but
though.
one that
And
feels
now that
fully
I
aligned.
know that you're a manifesting generator, that makes so much sense though too, because you follow where your passions are at that time.
Yes, and that's the key, is like saying yes to those passions because it makes all the difference. What is your human design?
I'm a generator. Yeah. Yeah, and, I'm
The
learning to
perfect
do,
partner.
like, the gut yes stuff because for
Yes,
so long I was a people pleaser and would never say no, and now that I'm saying aligned no's, things are falling into place, which I love.
it's so true. And that was one of like the key things for me is I was so wrapped up in the needs of my family and the needs of my
Mm,
staff that I couldn't tell what was mine anymore. So I started so basic with like, okay, like tuning into my body. Is this a yes or a no? And
mhm.
because being a sacral authority, like I could feel it in my body if it was a yes, and having to ask myself those questions about everything. Courtney, I went through even things like, do I want to shave my legs?
Yeah,
Yes or no? And I was like, no,
yeah,
I don't. So I started waxing them for a little bit. And then I was like, okay, this sucks. It takes a long time. But do I want to keep getting pedicures? Do I want to, like, what are the systems that I want to break out of? And started asking questions for all of those little, seemingly little meaningless societal constructs that I was just doing, and to get back into alignment.
yeah. And do you notice that after you've done this work on yourself and you've implemented it in your own life, does that ripple out into, like, the work you do for your clients?
Absolutely, absolutely. So Yakkety Yak is my primary business, and so when giving a little bit of context about what that looks like to work with me there, I help people. Especially, I love working with women who are starting soul aligned businesses. We'll sit down and do a strategy session where we get like super real about exactly who they are and what they're trying to be. And not the corporate speak, because that's what comes out first, the real, the raw, the messy. And by using those somatic practices to help people connect, by leaning into my intuition about when like I need to flag the bullshit meter and be like, why did you say that? Is it because you think you should say it, or is it because it's true? And then creating copy and branding and materials for them that satisfies the truth, so that when they go out into the world, they can lean on what is real, what is true, and then create their brands from there. So
Yeah,
yes,
oh
it's
my
made a big
gosh.
difference.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love and I mean, I do this too with my design practice, bring in the spiritual aspects to it. And I just feel like in this age of Aquarius, it's so important to have those intentional practices in what we're doing and bringing that into like the corporate world. Yeah.
100%. And the truth is that any time that I say yes to work that is not aligned, it
Mhm.
like ends up not going well. And so it's still a practice to remind myself, like sometimes like big paying client wants to come along and I'll be like, well, yeah, I say yes for the money, but not for the purpose. And
Mhm.
it doesn't turn out in the same way. So that soul spiritual aligned work, it's not just in the outcomes of my clients, but also in the outcomes of like my success as an entrepreneur.
Oh, totally. And then in your spiritual side of business, you have all these tools. I know you offer retreats. How often do you do stuff like that?
It's So I have a retreat coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm so
Mhm.
excited about it. There's 15 women who are coming to this beautiful ranch in Wisconsin. It's on like 175 acres. And ultimately, those retreats I've been doing, this is my second retreat. I'm hoping to do maybe 2 or 3 a year. I love to do workshops and other things that are accessible for people's schedules. A lot of my clients, and by the way, I'll tell you, this is something that's been interesting as of late, is that my coaching clients that are coming through are men. And so working with the masculine and helping them to tap into their feminine, because they are
Yeah.
just as disconnected as women are.
Yeah.
So right now I'm planning out what 2026 is going to look like and all of the different offerings. So retreats, workshops, events, and also launching soon are cohorts to help take people through some of the modalities that I work with to help them leave more aligned, more connected to themselves so that they can go out into the world and start making choices based on what's true for them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. I cannot wait to see what that looks like.
Me too.
Oh, that feels
I'm
so
so
good.
excited.
And
Thank
I just love like the throat chakra. The sense associated with it is hearing. So sound is perfect for that. Everything you do with the breath work as well, and the gateless writing is a form of
you. Yeah.
expression. I
Yeah.
did gateless writing on Meg's retreat, and it was truly transformational. How do you use that in your practice with your clients?
Oh my gosh. Well, for those of you listening, gateless writing is uh, it's a tool that basically allows you to tell your stories in a way where they leave you and they become art and they're separate from you. It helps to address the inner critic, to silence the inner critic. The key tenets of gateless are no disclaimers, providing positive feedback, and creating a safe space where you can actually like connect to your soul center. It's a very spiritual experience. And then writing from the heart based on the stories that we all have that hold space in our bodies knowingly and unknowingly. And the way that I work that into my workshops, retreats, and one-on-one coaching, and will be present in the cohorts, is that is what helps people access their truth, what's really there. The first piece that I wrote in Gateless with Meg was about. It's so funny that you had said spider webs earlier, but it was about uh, a cage I had built with 1,000 micro compromises. The web that I spit, the web that I had spun for myself that became a cage. And so, like, these truths that are revealed in gateless writing help provide clues
Mm,
about what is present in your life. And it can be a very trauma informed practice to help people work through the things that they're keeping within their bodies. And as you know, as a somatic practitioner, the trauma that we carry in our bodies manifests itself in disease and chronic
yeah.
illness and anxiety and depression.
Yeah. Everywhere. It bleeds into every aspect
Bleeds
of
into
life.
everything.
Yeah.
And more than that, like creativity, like there can be gateless art and just
Mm,
even the retreat containers and the workshops that I create are based on the tenets of gateless. We're not
mm,
here to compete. We are not here to compare. We are not here to fix. We are
yeah.
here to reflect the love, light, and beauty within one another. And that space of love and acceptance helps us to see how we are so much more alike, that we are going through the same struggle, similar struggles as every other human being, which creates connectivity and alignment. And creative expression is just a vital part of being human. And in this world where we've taught to be so homogenous in our daily
Hmm.
lives, show up, do this, follow rules, this and that, like that
Yeah.
creative expression often becomes secondary. What are you going to do with that? How are you going to make money with it? And it's like,
Mm,
my heart bleeds for like the backyard guitar player,
yes.
the like the grandpa with the violin. We
Yeah.
all have that art within us, and Gateless provides that. Like, let's crack it open.
Yes. Totally. It taps into like a whole new world. And we've been
Yes,
talking about all your career aspect, these two businesses that you have going on. Let's touch on your podcast because that is also a big aspect of the throat chakra. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got into podcasting, where that idea came from?
yes. Well, so for me, it was interesting. I had this sort of breakthrough where it's like I have been telling everyone else's story, but I haven't been telling mine. So Yakkety
Mm,
Yak produces podcasts for our clients. We like to tell stories and help them to get to the root of their business and their mission and their story. And I thought to myself, I have been keeping my story under wraps for so long. And I decided to just go and play and do. And so with anything is, it's like, okay, is anyone going to listen? I don't know. But for me, it wasn't about that. It was about the practice of using my throat chakra, which actually would have been the most closed off. I wasn't listening to my heart. I wasn't listening to my sacral. I was uncomfortable in every area of life. And I wasn't using my voice because I was afraid of the repercussions. Part of that came from being a business owner and being concerned that I was going to say the wrong thing or offend someone or do this or that. And so for me, it was practice, flexing my most valuable muscle. And so I started. The podcast is called Unapologetically Yours. It covers a whole span of things. There's some changes coming to the podcast in season 3, so I'm excited about that. But it's been like just such a great experience, cathartic, to just like put my ego aside, tell the story, see who's following along. And I'm always surprised by people who come up to me and are like, oh, I listened to that and I really got something out of it. And I'm like, oh my God, well, great. I'm so glad. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel
Right.
like
Has
it
that
goes
been your experience?
farther than you realize. I was going to say, like,
Yes.
have you noticed any, not only changes in yourself, but like others from people hearing your podcast, giving you feedback?
Yeah. So that's a good question. I think that what has surprised me are the people who come out of the woodwork and say, me too. I've done some really personal episodes around pregnancy loss, burnout, what it means to be a CEO. I've had some guests on the show who are experts in parenting and sex and run and to have a friend, like even just like last week, someone shared an episode that came out months ago and was just like, this made me cry. So knowing just how important it is to reach one person, you can change someone's life. And also recognizing that the reason where back in like 2021, there were 2 podcasts that were really instrumental in helping me to name what was going on with me spiritually. That was Meg's podcast that she was running at the time. And another one was Jessica's wife's podcast. At the time, it was Simply Be, now called Spiritual Hustler. And that gave me like the things that I was feeling inside, the things that I didn't have name for because I didn't have community surrounding it. They were helping me to name.
That's
And
magical.
right. So it can change someone's whole life and you don't know who's listening.
Yeah. I love that so much. And could you tell us a little bit about like the theme of Unapologetically Yours and like your goal or your vision for it in the future?
Yeah. So right now it's been my playground. It has been my like flexing the muscle, using my voice, figuring out what setup I like, how I want to have conversations, what length and all of those pieces. And truly I'm a storyteller at heart. I have a master's in journalism and I had always had dreams of, being on TV and telling stories and really like deep down still want to be a conflict reporter in war zones.
Ooh.
Which makes it like a little bit tricky when you have little kids. But so for me, I love the format of interviewing people and helping to get to the heart of their stories and asking those questions that maybe someone hasn't thought of before because journalism is an art. So I love bringing guests on the show. We cover a lot of things around women breaking the rules. And women were taught to be good girls. So even saying something like break the rules sounds so rebellious. But what I mean by that is examining what works for you, what doesn't, and starting to ask those questions so that you can take agency of your life. And so that's the primary theme. Now, where it's going is what I've noticed in myself is that I have a lot of edge. I love F words. I have a totally crude sense of humor.
Love
And
it.
so I'm ready to go there. So there'll be new branding.
Love.
And I really want to engage a male audience. So is what I'm finding is that men are leaning towards people like these red pill individuals who are
Yeah.
sharing a lot of information online. And I think that needs to be balanced with the woman's perspective. So I feel like I finally have the courage and the voice to
Mm.
start going after those not going after, but starting to
Yeah.
play in a space like that.
Well, I love that so much. And that's just really interesting that you bring that up too, because I have felt that the masculine is now being called into a healing space. They have
Yes.
been very wounded for a very long time. And now is the time for the masculine to step up and
Yes.
balance. So
Oh
I
my gosh.
love that you are doing that. I've never heard of this before. That's fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we think about things like even in from a political standpoint. So if
Hmm.
you're, want to criticize someone for being of a different political viewpoint, then create a soft space for them to land to join you. And if we
Mm,
want to be as women who are part of the age of Aquarius in the collective trying to make a difference in the world, that's great. Yes, let's empower the women. But how do we prepare the men to receive us? I look at
mm,
my daughter, who is like the most soulful, beautiful little girl, and I think about raising my sons so that when they're looking for a partner, they can find someone like her. And when she's looking for a partner, she can find someone like them who are capable of expressing themselves, who don't feel lost, who have a place to be fully themselves. And it's, I think that, so like, I'm feeling more and more called to be that safe space for the masculine to their wounds around the lack of feminine in their lives and the presence of toxic femininity, which is
yeah.
was very real too.
Hmm. Oh, that's beautiful. I cannot wait to follow along and see when and how that comes up. Thank
Oh
you
my
for
gosh.
sharing that with us.
Thanks. A little preview of what's
Yeah,
to come.
a little
Yeah, but I'm
sneak peek.
curious too though, Courtney, how is that coming up for you? The
Honestly,
in terms of the
in
masculine.
my personal life, like
Yeah.
seeing a lot of men in my life coming to terms with the masculine energy and working internally to balance those. My parents recently had a divorce, and just seeing that play out and me knowing from a young age that that was going to happen has been interesting, but I've noticed it collectively because everything is a mirror. Seeing things happen in my personal life and then seeing the collective almost like purge this like toxic male energy and how they can level up from here has been
Yes.
fascinating.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I'm sorry about your parents' divorce. It's very
That's okay.
hard. Yeah. And at any age, it's difficult. And I just went through a divorce. I'm going through a divorce, and
Jeez.
it's really hard. But what's been like almost my biggest exposure to this is like being on Hinge and dating sites and seeing how many men out there have not been held by a healthy feminine, and
Wow.
who are not like able to fully express themselves, who are go to doctors for help about anxiety and depression and then get prescribed a whole host of
Mm,
different different meds without the support, the somatic
yeah.
practices to overcome. And so there's a lot of men who are deeply stuck. And
Hmm.
I'm I'm really looking at that as a mirror as well.
Hmm.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Like I honor them and I feel for them. And I think that there is just that lack of or the lack of feminine presence and feminine energy in our current society impacts men and women both very deeply.
100%. There has to be a balance. And I'm sorry for your experience that you're going through. And what a beautiful way to turn that into a personal power as well. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Well, it's a journey like anything in life, but I really resonates with me what you said about like your personal life is a reflection. And I feel like my personal life is then reflected in society and then is reflected in Mother Earth. And it's like
Mm,
all of these patterns of where they're all of these threads are connected. And I think that's why I felt so compelled to start the work of becoming a teacher and speaker about some of these practices so that can help, align a future collective to provide a different world for our kids.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, that's so beautiful, Ashley. Thank you so much for sharing your voice with us and telling us how you can help people find their authentic voice. It's so beautiful. If people want to work with you and learn more about you, where can they listen to your podcast or look at your work and find you?
So everything is available on my website at ashleylogan.com. And so you can go there and my social channels are linked. there's contact forms where I'm about to do a little bit of a refresh on my website now that stepping into more of a coaching authority, and which I'm just so excited about. But in all everything's linked there. Instagram is my primary sharing platform. You can get a glimpse into my personal life and stories about my dog getting skunked in my backyard
No.
and all sorts of things. And that's at Ashley D. Logan.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on, Ashley. This was fabulous.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad we were able to connect, and you are fabulous. Keep using that voice and keep showing up authentically. And that's one thing that I absolutely love about you.
Thank you. Visit ablealchemy.com to download your free chakra journal and to learn more about Able Alchemy. This is a place where your dreams and reality align through services like tarot and astrology readings, sound bath sessions, and intuitive branding for businesses looking to align with their manifestations and purpose through soul-led studies such as astrology business energy analysis and chakra color theory. Follow along with Able Alchemy on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Please rate, review, and subscribe if you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next time.